Hello again, my friends, and welcome back. So, wow. Um, my last video went up, and infinitely more people than I expected showed up. So, I wanted to make a sort of follow-up slash part two to that video. First, I want to talk about my plans for this channel. Next, I want to clarify some of the things I said in that video, and then the actual topic of this video. So, first, I want to thank everyone who watched my last video. I, like I said, really wasn't expecting any of that. I did not share it. I didn't buy ads or anything like that. I didn't even ask y'all to share or like or subscribe or anything, but you did anyway. Look, when I said in the last video that I didn't want to become a YouTuber, that wasn't a lie. I still don't. To the one person that noted that I used hashtags in my last video, that's true. I wanted people to see the video, but don't confuse I want an audience with I hope to turn this into a career. I mean, I guess it depends on what your definition of a YouTuber is. To me, I consider the aiming for becoming a content creator, that's a YouTuber. While people just making videos for the hell of it are not. As far as I'm concerned, I don't want the career. I used to want that back when YouTube wasn't screwing with their algorithms and before people started chasing clickbait titles and ad sponsors and saying crazy stuff to get clicks. I feel like that kind of stuff hurts the message. Now, I do have a lot of things that I want to talk about, from why I hate debates, something that I got a lot of pushback on in my previous video, to fixing post-secondary education, something I'm very passionate about. So I will keep making videos. But the thing is, I'm going to make the videos when I'm ready to make them. I'm going to say whatever I feel needs to be said, even if the video winds up being excessively long. I won't be working off some algorithm chasing schedule. We live in a world now where everyone is trying to monetize their hobbies and interests, which another video. I'll admit, currently struggling financially. Work is feast or famine for me, and it's not as plentiful as I would like. So there is a part of my brain that's telling me to go all in with this, but the rational side of me is fortunately much louder. And it's telling me that you don't want to be in a situation where you have to make a video. YouTube is finicky, and all of it can be taken away just like that. I have a family to take care of, and I don't need more uncertainty in my life, more stress. Okay, so that out of the way. In my last video, I said a lot. After filming, I spent an entire day to edit that video. By the end of that process, I had managed to cut out only 20 minutes. 20 minutes off the runtime. And that really bummed me out, but I had more I wanted to say, more that I had to unfortunately cut out. And it's entirely possible that in those edits, some of the things weren't as clear as they should have been. So I want to take a moment to clarify here. In the interest of time, however, I will try and keep this as brief as possible. So, one of the things I got a lot of pushback on was debates. I'll go into detail on this in another video, but basically, I'm not against debates per se, but I am not a fan of how they're currently being implemented. A few people mentioned that me leaving was better late than never, as well as a couple of people saying, "You're just now leaving?" But I never left the left. I believe I mentioned I was never a part of the left, so I could not leave it. I also never left the Eiffel Tower. Notice I am currently not in the Eiffel Tower. I can't leave a place I've never been, and I can't leave a party I've never been a part of. Next one, 75% of the violence. This one is probably where I got the biggest pushback, and that is 100% on me. At the time, I was finding it hard to describe my thoughts on the matter. And frankly, that should have been a sign that it wasn't as clear as it should have been. I am fully aware of the issues with the data in the Cato study and the other one that I'm currently blanking on. I'm aware that there was seemingly no left wing violence during the mostly peaceful protests of 2020. I was aware of all of that when I recorded the video. My point was that it doesn't matter who is in control of more of it. If we were responsible for only 10% of the political violence, I would say the same thing. If Tim and Tom are outside playing and mom comes home and finds the yard is completely trashed and tells them that they need to clean the yard, does she care if Tim made a bigger mess than Tom? Fellow conservatives, that video wasn't for you. It was for them. I wanted to reach them where they are. And where they are right now is Republicans are violent and incapable of calling it out. We have been fortunate, I I guess I'll say, that there has been no retaliation from Charlie's death. But what about the next one or the one after that? I'm not going to delude myself into believing that our side is always going to do the right thing. What happens when someone takes it too far? Eventually, even the coolest of heads are going to say there's no possible course to reconciliation. And at that point, they might take revenge. At that point, it's not going to matter who's in control of more of the political violence. At that point, it'll be more like gang violence. One side will attack the other responding in kind. In other words, those numbers would be completely irrelevant. So if they want to say we're responsible for most of it, fine. There you go. We're awful, violent people. I will happily make that compromise. Now, in the spirit of admitting faults, can we talk about how y'all, Democrats, talk about us? We can even use that as an in to spark more conversation. Yeah, we're more politically violent. Why do you think that is? Could it be perhaps that we got sick of being called the villain of the story time and time again? That was really the idea. So I fully admit that I screwed up there and was not very clear. But hopefully that clears it up. But if not, oh well. Okay, so that out of the way, the real reason I wanted to make this video. The comments, I tried to read through them. I tried to respond to as many as I could. It got to a point where I was spending an entire day just responding to comments, which, I mean, I guess that's a good problem to have. But I was not able to respond to all of them. But the comments that I read were heartwarming, touching, encouraging, all the good, positive things. But there were also a few people in my comment section saying essentially the Democrat Party is unsavable, that we need to expunge it from our society. Okay, how? I advocated for us to keep trying, and many of you said no, it's too late. So that begs the question, what's left? How do you propose we eliminate this ideology? No matter how I work it out in my head, the ending is the same. The only other solution where we get rid of the Democrats without civil war or violence is to have a peaceful national divorce. Now, honestly, I'm not 100% opposed to the idea, but something like that comes with a lot of issues, both foreseen and unforeseen. We've tried telling them their policies won't work, let them go off, make their own country, and see how it turns out. But the point here is that if we've given up on them, what else is there to do? See, I'm not ready to give up on them, but I'm also a realist. I'm not going to trick myself into saying that it for sure isn't too late. Truth be told, Charlie's death might have been a step too far. We might be at a point of no return. But until I know that for sure, I'm going to keep trying. That's why I'm doing this, so that we can hopefully avoid all of it. Because here's the thing, Democrats have been lied to again and again and again. There are still people out there that know only the lies. And as a consequence, they've latched on to some crazy stuff. But people leave all kinds of things. People leave religion. People leave cults. People leave the KKK. Is it really that hard to believe that they can't leave the Democrats? And how does our reaction to all of the madness affect those that are testing the waters on our side? Many of the people that said that Democrats are unfixable are also people that are Christians. And I can't really wrap my brain around how you can reconcile the two. The sort of line in the sand that some of us are drawing actually reminds me of a Bible story, and that's the story of Jonah. Now, most people are familiar with the story of Jonah. Jonah is told by God to preach to the Ninevites and have them repent, or God would destroy them. Now, Jonah hates the Ninevites. So he runs away. God then commands this large fish to swallow Jonah whole. Some people call it a whale, but you get the idea. Eventually, Jonah repents and agrees to go to Nineveh and preach. Jonah preaches in probably the most low effort sermon ever. And the people there in Nineveh repent and are saved. Now, this is typically where the story ends in your typical Sunday school, but it's not the actual ending of the story because Jonah still wants for God to wipe them off the face of the planet. So he travels up to a cliff overlooking the city, anxiously awaiting God's judgment on the people. But it doesn't happen. Jonah then starts pouting and throwing a tantrum, basically because God wouldn't destroy them. He asks for God to kill him. He's a complete and total diva. So then God commands this vined plant to grow up over where Jonah is sitting, providing him with shade from the hot sun, which provides Jonah with a lot of comfort. Well, the next day, God commands a worm to eat and kill that plant. So Jonah then throws an even bigger tantrum about the plant and once again asks God to kill him. God scolds him and says essentially, you care more about this plant than all of these people. And that is essentially where the story actually ends. We don't even find out if Jonah changes or if he just died on that hill, pun not intended. And I'm seeing parallels in some of these comments. We, as a society, aren't capable of true forgiveness anymore. What they've said or done in the past is irredeemable, while all of the things you've done in your life that are irredeemable have been forgiven by God. Jesus didn't hang out with the people that loved him, liked him, or even agreed with him. He hung out with prostitutes, tax collectors, which I think are considered worse, but sinners all around. If you're a Christian, guess what? Christ died for Democrats too. Jesus taught radical forgiveness, often even using the term radical. Forgive as he forgave you. After all you've done, even those secret sins that you hide, God's love for you is unconditional. And what? You can't extend the same to them? The guy that allegedly killed Charlie looked at him as someone who was irredeemable. There was no saving him. Therefore, the only solution was to murder him. What happens when we as Republicans think that Democrats are irredeemable? There's one quote from Charlie Kirk that I hear a lot, and it's when we stop talking, that's when bad things happen. Charlie used the word talking, but I think too many people are looking at the quote too literally. I think at the heart of that sentence, what he's really saying is that giving up, shutting people out, that is when bad things happen. Think I'm just reaching? Okay, when you give up on someone, what's the first thing that happens? You stop talking to them. You stop interacting with them. Sometimes you refuse to share a room with them. Is that not really the same thing here? We as Republicans need to realize that we can't do the same things that they did to us. Would it feel great? Yes. It would feel so gratifying. But if we do that, we're just going to be back here again in 20 years, but this time Republicans will be the bad guys. I'm seeing a lot of the same things Dems did on our side now. The name calling, as I mentioned in my last video, but that's not where it stops. Purity tests, probably the biggest reason so many liberals are jumping ship. We're doing it too. If you don't support Israel, you aren't MAGA. I've seen people get shouted down by us because they disagree with Trump on tariffs. Or to prove it with something on my last video, there's this comment: 30 minutes and 15 seconds. You just outed yourself. Pray to whatever eldritch creatures you worship that you never meet me. This is what I'm talking about. Purity tests. What did I say that was so egregious that it rendered my entire video worthless and got a somewhat vague threat in my direction? It was regarding the trans community, where I said that people are saying that the trans community is labeled with things such as predators, followed by me saying something they aren't. By and large, they are not, as far as I'm aware. Are there some? Yes. Are there many? Possibly. Now, friend, we probably don't agree on the trans issue 100%, but I'd say it's probably a lot closer than you gave me credit for. But even if I said that 100% of them are literally the best people on the planet, everyone else sucks, so what? Is that really enough to discount everything I say and believe? You remember J.K. Rowling? Completely and totally liberal, but was excised from the left because of the trans issue. It was one single thing. And you're doing the same exact thing to me. Like, come on, guys. Are we really so blind that we can't see us falling into those same patterns? Just because we're right or whatever doesn't mean that the same things that brought the Dems down aren't going to do the same to us. Now, I want to leave you with this. If we stop trying to reach them, who's really the unreachable one?